friends, and welcome back to my crafty space where I share my memory keeping projects and processes with all of you. If this is your first time here, hello and welcome. My name is Crystal and I am super excited that you are all here today. Today we are diving back into the Traveler's Notebook that I'm working on as a gift for my parents. It is documenting a trip that they took to Arizona back in September of 2019. So, over the past couple of Saturdays, we've been working on putting this whole album together. We are a little over halfway done, and today we're going to be putting together the next 3 spreads in this book. So before I get to putting everything together here, let's go over to my computer so I can show you guys how I altered some of the pieces from the tourist mode travel kit from Futurecraft and the travel notes travel TN papers from Futurecraft, how I altered some of those in order to fit the needs for my pages for today. So let's head on over there and get started. Okay, friends, so before we get to assembling the Traveler's Notebook spreads for today, first I am bringing you over to my computer on my Photoshop Creative Cloud program to show you how I altered some of the journaling cards and Traveler's Notebook pages to create the elements for these pages. So let's just jump right in. So the first page that we're going to be working on is going to look a little bit like this or something like this. This one is going to be really easy and really I didn't have to alter very many things, if any. So I have a pattern paper from my stash that I want to use over on this side, which I should also say when I'm planning out these pages, I do have like a large stack of Traveler's Notebook sized pattern papers that I will like rustle through in order to find ones in order, to use up some of the things from my stash. So I have a paper to go here. This card in the middle is a card from the tourist mode kit, like the main kit. So instead of using the digital one, I am just going to use the card from the kit itself. So I don't need to do anything with that. The only thing I want to show you on this is the little stamp here at the bottom. So I actually am going to I'm not going to print this. I'm going to use my actual stamp set for this. But if you do not have the physical kit, let me show you how you can get this onto your photo. So the stamp looks like this, where it's transparent in the middle. For me, I'm going to stamp this using black ink on white sticker paper and just put it straight onto my photo from there. So for this, I wanted it to have white. I wanted it to be filled with white, I should say. So I just grabbed white and my paint bucket and I'm going to just fill it in, all these little bits and pieces in here so that the background of it is white. Then I can take this and just select it all and copy it and go over to my photo itself, paste it right on there, and then I can move it around. For me, I want this to go in this like aisle way right here. But the scale for that is perfect, which is why I'm just going to use my physical stamp set. If the scale was off though, I could have from here, I could go ahead and resize it however big I want it to be, and then take this and transfer it over onto just a white piece of paper and print that off on white cardstock. Then I could just cut it out and adhere it onto the photo. Since I have the stamp set and the scale of it, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to use my stamps. Okay, so that is that. So really nothing special for the first spread. For the second spread right here, what I'm doing for this one is I am going to use a 3x4 card from the tourist mode kit. It looks like this. And I'm going to alter it to create a pattern paper for my Traveler's Notebook. So it'll cover the entire notebook. The right side of the page, I am again going to use a stash paper. It's like a green map, so I just colored the background green to mimic that. Then I'm going to use one of the cards from the tourist mode kit. I didn't alter it, so I'm just going to use the one from the kit itself. And then I have 2 photos up above that are cropped. They're kind of a weird size. They are 1.45 inches wide by 3 inches tall. So the reason for that is because I wanted them, when they're next to each other, when they're next to each other here, I want them to have a space in between them. Okay, a space in between them, but to be the width of my journaling card down here. So I just needed to make them slightly under an inch and a half wide, since this is 3 inches down here. So that is that. So let me show you real quick how I altered this card on here. So we've got, I just closed out of that. So we've got the 3x4 card here. What I'm going to do is open up a new canvas that is sized at 4 1/4 by 8 1/4, which is the size of a standard traveler's notebook. Then I'm going to come back over to the card itself, select it all and copy it, and then paste it onto my canvas. From here, I want to go ahead and enlarge it to fill up the entire page. And I like this being in the middle. The let's hit the road, I like that being directly in the middle of this page. Next, what I want to do is take some of these cars and I want to put some at the top and some at the bottom. So with the layer 1 selected, I'm going to grab my marquee tool and I'm going to do the top first. So I'm going to go from the very top of the tealy blue color to, or tealy green, I guess, to just below the second layer of cars. Then I will right click and select layer via copy. I want to copy it so that the cars that were already there stay there. Then I'm just going to move that up to the top. Make sure that the spacing is pretty even between these 2 cars and matches all of the other ones. I think that's pretty good. And then I'll hit enter and that looks pretty nice. So then I want to select that first layer again, and we're going to do the same thing to the bottom. So we're going to go from right above the bottom 2 cars to the bottom of the tealy green color, right click and layer via copy. Then we can select our move tool and move these guys down to the bottom. We want to make our spacing fairly even. And then when we like the way that it looks, we can click off of it. Looks good. And now I'm just going to merge all of these layers together into one paper, and that gives me my pattern paper. So I can just print it just like that. Okay, so that is our second spread that we're going to be working on today. The third one is the easiest one of all. So it's going to look like this. When we get all the pieces printed. I again have another pattern paper that I'm going to use from my stash for the left side. It's got like a title on it that I really like, or it's there's 2 that I'm debating between, so I'll show you guys that when we get over to the table. On the right side, I am just using one of the papers from the Traveler's Notebook paper packs, which is one of the newer releases from Futurecraft. This one is from the color kit, and I'm literally doing nothing to it. I'm just going to print it just like this. But I did want to add my photos onto this page. So what I decided to do was take my marquee tool and kind of select a section of dots. I think I probably did about this much. And let's undo that because I actually want to see, I want to see the sizes. So I like it right around here. And if you can see the width and height little measurements there, it says that I am at roughly 3.28 inches wide by 1.77 inches tall. And I have a little bit of wiggle room. So what I'm going to do is crop my photos to 3.25 inches wide by 1.75 inches tall. Now, when I do that, let's open up those pictures. When I do that, and I copy and I paste those photos over onto the Traveler's Notebook page, it's going to pretty evenly cover up the dots. So then I can just add my photos, which will be printed separately, but I can add my photos onto this page, and now there's like photos and place for journaling, photos, place for journaling. So I think it looks pretty good. And that's it. That is it for these 3 spreads today. Pretty easy, nothing like crazy out of the box. But yeah, so I'm going to go ahead, get everything printed, and then I will meet you guys over at the table to get these pages assembled. So let's jump right in and get all of the supplies pulled out for these spreads for today. And the first one I'm going to work on is right here. So this one is one of the spreads where I had a paper in my stash that I was going to use. So it's like this yellow starburst kind of looking page. It's from Freckled Fawn. And if it's still available, I'll put it down in the description below. It's a bit older, so I'm not sure. But that's what's going to go next to it with the card on top. And then right here is where I'm going to pull out that stamp set. I'm using scrapbook.com's premium dye ink. That is my favorite black ink that I use. In the stamp set from the Tourist Mode kit to stamp out the captured label. I did stamp it down on white matte sticker paper. That's just so that it keeps the embellishments a little bit flatter and it makes it easier to stick everything down. So when I remember to pull that out of my stash and use it, I'm always very happy that I do. So I stamped 2 of them just so I made sure I had, the impression that I wanted, and then fussy cut it out and I will adhere it down onto that photo. So if this is your first time tuning in to this album, I am actually not doing any of the journaling. I am just creating the areas for my parents to do the journaling themselves. So sometimes it's just like a little section where they can write down like where they were. And sometimes it's a bigger area where they can write down more of the story of what happened in that place or, on that walk or whatever it is. So that is going to be it for this spread. I'm just going to add my double-sided score tape. I get mine from scrapbook.com, and this one is 1/4 inch thick. I use that to stick these pages into my traveler's notebook. Now, because I stick pages into my notebook, I don't actually put them all the way down to the spine. Otherwise, it would bulk it up too much and really cause a problem. So I leave a tiny itty bitty little gap, which means that I do have to trim off the excess around the outside. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just going to skip over some of it so you don't have to watch me, trim a bunch of papers. So that's that one. We'll get this one adhered into. This I thought about adding some embellishments to this page, but ultimately decided not to. Because I liked it plainer, so I left that one plain. All right, now let's get into the next spread here. This one was another one with a stash paper. It is a map, like a topographical map that is green, and it was from the travel kit that was done by Studio Calico for 2019. So it is older and the paper itself is no longer available, but it's just one that I've had in my stash to use. So that is what I pulled out. And that is why on the computer I changed the background to green so I could really kind of gauge what everything would look like when I got the green on there. So then I went through my embellishments and pulled a couple out. The pink one that I put underneath the Let's Hit the Road sentiment there, that one says let's get lost, and I just liked the extra pop of color right there. It's still simple, but it adds a little bit of something to this page. Then I went ahead and added my adhesive to all of these pieces. This page is just about they went on a road trip to go to sightseeing, and the roads were curvy and twisty and crazy. So my mom took a snapshot of their GPS, which is what that picture is right there. And then the other one is a picture out of their window as they were driving. So I'm just going to go ahead and adhere those down. And then I found these 2 little banners that I thought also added a nice pop of color too. So one of them says Scenic Route. That's the one that's kind of like the orangey color. And the other one says Tourist Mode, I'm pretty sure. It says Tourist Mode. Yes. So Tourist Mode and Scenic Route. So I thought that those were appropriate for the page and also just added a little bit of something. Also, they fit those pictures perfectly. So I went ahead and added those photos into or added the pages into my traveler's notebook, again using score tape. I just cut that part out so you don't have to watch it. I am debating adding this puffy sticker here because I accidentally got a tiny bit of ink on that card, and so I debated covering it up, but I just didn't like it. So I ultimately just decided to leave it and let it be. Now let's work on the last one. So this last one, I was debating between these two papers. Now these are also part of that Studio Calico travel kit from 2019. So again, they are not available. They're just ones from my stash. I ultimately decided to go with Adventure Awaits. I love this paper. It was one of my absolute favorites from the kit, and I literally just hoarded it. Like, I could have used it a long time ago. I don't know why I didn't. So I debated not using it because I love it so much and just keeping it for longer. And then ultimately decided to just do it, to just use it, put it in here, and get it in a book. So that's what I did. And I also thought it would be fun to bulk it up with some additional embellishments from the tourist mode kit. So I went through and found a couple of banners and then that little tiny like blue arrow. And I just like the way that it creates almost a triangle in that space. It just draws your eye to that card and just adds some interest to it. So I've got the arrow, I've got this gray sentiment, I don't remember what it says, let me see if I can read it, and then I've got a green label that lets them add like a place. Oh, it says remember this. So the gray says remember this, and then there's the green label there where they can add the location if they want, or whatever. So then the opposite page was the one that I just created the photos in, the sizing in order to cover up some of those dots. So I'm just going to add some adhesive to them and put them down onto the page there. Once I get them all adhered down, I'm going to pull over the puffy stickers that coordinated with this kit and add a couple of those puffy asterisks to the photos. Those are probably one of my favorite puffy sticker shapes. They're almost like a star, but they're just so dainty and cute, and I really love them. And so I put one on each of the photos, and then I really wanted to find a way to add a puffy sticker to the left paper as well. So you'll see me kind of like try and debate on a couple different ones, and ultimately I decide to just not and say who cares and just let it be what it is. So I just will put this in the book and then call that done. All right, so that finishes up these spreads for today, and I super love the way that they all turned out. They were a little bit simpler than some of the other weeks that we've done, but I still super love them, and I love how many of the little embellishments I was able to get on these as well. I hope that this gave you guys some inspiration for how you can use both the physical and the digital kits from Futurecraft, which were the tourist mode kit and the travel notes, traveler's notebook papers, to create elements for your own travel album. Regardless of the size that you're working in, you can use, the digitals to alter them to whatever fits your needs. I will be back again next Saturday to do the last 3 pages. I think it's 3 and the final page. So 3.5 pages with you guys. And then this album will be complete and I can give it as a gift to my parents. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up down below and make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Any of the products or the links that I mentioned throughout the course of this video, I will also put in that description box down below. So until next time, I hope you guys have a fabulous rest of your weekend, and I will catch you all in the next video. Bye now.